I would be kind of surprised to see a Zin's Alpha. I know, you know, golden rule, don't talk about hovers. But Sedgegon, you normally want to try to wait for things like the Skarner to come through, right? And also with the Gwen up and the Rumble.
Yeah. Oh.
Kind of surprising. Gwen Jax, immediate lock-in. So that should definitely signal Rumble. Rumble's good into both of these champions in the top lane. So he should be fine up there, Jung. And now for Saber, I mean, he's got and played a bunch of different AD champions, but perhaps I assume they'd want either more setup from Xiaoxu or Wako's AD champ here, considering he's looking at 2 divers off the bat. Maybe he wants something that can self-peel like the Ezreal.
Or maybe more towards that mid lane potentially, as a Galio would be good setup here with the Xin Zhao. Yeah, I was gonna say the Rumble and the Gwen both being left up was interesting. It was almost like Ultra Prime were daring RNG to pick up one or both, and they maybe had an answer for it. But now you pick up the Galio. It also is like a semi takeaway from RNG, which means somebody like Tangyuan can't play that pick, which obviously does good into the Rumble as well.
Yeah,
and we'll see what RNG want to respond with here.
The other reason why I like is it does kind of feel like a small call out to Tangyuan's champion pool. You can play Yone. Could have played Yone in the slot, I suppose, right? But overall, and I mean just kind of historically, AD champions have never really been Tangyuan's strong suit. So knowing that you're likely to end up into double AP mid-jungle, preemptively just going, yeah, you know what, I'm happy to give my bot lane at least one counter pick in the AD or the support slot, I'm kind of happy to see. And then the Galio just provides a lot more of a platform to be proactive on the map if you're Ultra Prime. So we'll see how they're able to utilize that matchup and pick. As into the second ban phase, the Poppy is removed away. I suspect Ultra Prime are going to remove away things that can kind of self-peel, like the Ezreal, now that they're not getting the first pick on it. Maybe even a Corki ban could go a little bit of a good way, just because you've got Prio in the top lane, Prio in mid, having to deal with, you know, kind of an aggressive bot lane, even if you've got the Galio to cover, I feel like would be something that you don't necessarily want to deal with. And it can technically self-peel. It can Valk off of the Equalizer if they can find some more setup through the support slot as well. I feel like that seems to me as the most obvious ban, but maybe they've got something else in mind.
I feel like hard engage bot lane is going to work specifically for RNG. They don't have like a super reliable source of hard engage, like a Kai'Sa Rel, something like that could work. You know, also a champion that JiaQi has played a ton. Wonder if they want to try to save support for last pick though, as could open up some good matchups with Niket and kind of the expansive champion pool that he has. I will say overall, for RNG, we wanted to see milkyway on a bit more of a carry. They banned away the Sejuani and they picked the Jax. I feel like that's a good start, as well as Tangyuan on the Ahri, which is a little bit more utility focused.
Yeah, I like the Alistar blind here actually, because if you're Ultra Prime, you don't really want to play Braum with this top side that you have. And you're probably looking at something like a Rel, right? Like a Leona. Those are probably your 2 best picks. You could also go towards the Nautilus, I suppose. Basically, anything that goes in is the MO, I feel like, for Ultra Prime. Misfortune. So there's your kind of more aggressive lane bully-ish pick. And let's see where they decide to go again. It could only be one of those trifecta of champions.
Could flex that. Could flex that Galio support, but no, it's gonna be the Rel.
Yeah.
Little bit of a self counter there into the Alistar, but it's all good. You still get the primary engage. It's still all you want in a team comp for Ultra
exactly, right? Like you suck it up, go, yeah, this lane matchup's probably gonna suck. But then you're playing Rel with a Rumble and a Misfortune later on. So it doesn't feel all too bad. Jhin? I mean, I don't hate it. I feel like at this point, playing a carry feels pretty miserable into the Ultra Prime composition. And a little bit more utility. Let the Gwen try and take over into this short range matchup, right? All the Jax set up for them. I feel like for RNG, plenty of setup, really, across the board. When you think about the Ahri, the Jhin, the Alistar, and, you know, scaling damage, I'm really going to be a bit surprised if we see this Jax end up in Milky Way's hands. But that said, of course, Jax 1 versus 1 into the Xin Zhao, very, very good. Like counter, and I suppose Xin Zhao probably beats out Gwen in the 1v1 for a fairly long time, so I don't hate it either. Ultra Prime though, very, very geared towards those first, you know, the first and the second item spikes, particularly. That is just where their champs are strongest. So I feel like there's like a soft timer on their overall strength, their champions are still going to continue to grow, you know, past that point. But when you look over at things like the Jin and the Gwen and even the Jax, the Spire being in the jungle, those champs are renowned for their, you know, second spike onwards. So it does feel like if you are on this side of Ultra Prime, you definitely need to execute very clinically for the first 20 minutes or so to try and put yourself in a very positive position where RNG have to walk into your setup.
And I think playing around Zhang on the Rumble is going to be pretty important as well. You know, Xiaoxu is a player that definitely can carry a game if given the right opportunity. Meanwhile, Zhang on the Rumble, a champion that he's very comfortable on, and if you can play around those equalizers, have the Galio kind of throw in his support alongside Junhao on that Xin Zhao, I think the top side here for Ultra Prime could definitely provide that early game advantage that you were potentially talking about. Our final first matchup here in the group stage, in the Ascend Nirvana stage, as we're getting our first looks here at Royal Never Give Up and Ultra Prime. Of course, these two teams placed up against each other in the placement stages, went a little bit more Ultra Prime favored, but we're expecting a close series regardless as we're on to the rip for game one.
Talk of that, Jai. Minimal support for RNG in the crowd.
I've been noticing the Nirvana games get a little bit less of the crowd support.
Yeah, but these two teams rather did deliver in their best of ones and tiebreakers just a week and a bit ago. English will be difficult the first game whilst I boot up. So I do suspect that if the rest of this group has been anything to go by, we should be delivering a lot of blood and a 3-game series, actually. I haven't seen
did get a
2-0 yet in this side of the group.
You get a lot of blood in that that Thunder Talk EDG series. I still have nightmares about what that best of 3 ended up becoming. But it was 3 games, so if you like 3 games, if you like more League of Legends, that maybe you do want to check that out. Already, we see some light trading down in the bot lane as JiaQi got chunked out a little bit by Xiaoxu. On this Rel pickup, we also see both junglers stuck on the bot side, going right back in, forcing the flash.
Yeah, I mean, really well played from Xiaoxu. JiaQi and Niket leashed milkyway. That's what's causing this. Obviously, we have the camera pan down on them helping. Not really sure what to say about that one. Just a little bit too disrespectful from the RNG bot lane. And Xiaoxu punishes respectfully. Or, yeah. We're just going to go with that one for now. And I am kind of surprised that Junhao is pathing towards the top side. Though it does make a little bit of sense. Rumble, again, should always chunk out Xiaoxu. There's no flash on Xiaoxu either. So he has a very vulnerable early gank up.
Yeah, went for the exhaust. milkyway will be there though, as don't think that ward actually spotted him out. He actually skipped over the Raptor camp and now maybe going for an invade onto the blue buff of Junhao. Could be an interesting target. Again, we talked about how the Jax could beat out on the Xin Zhao in the 1v1.
Oh no. Oh, okay. Well, he might have gotten the Grom. milkyway, is he going to give up on the invade? He is, I guess. Did have smite.
Just a little spook. It's all good.
Yeah, I mean, he has prio mid, prio top. I was kind of expecting him to stick around for the blue buff, but deeming it not really worth the time. Now, the problem with, as these two bot laners continue to trade pretty aggressively this invade, is Junhao will have level 4. He's got a little bit more movement out of Jiang. He can probably get that Skull Crab because of the level advantage. And milkyway gonna have to give this one up despite, for the first 3 minutes, having solo lanes that can move on this side of the map. It will feel a little bit bad, but just slightly off on that timing. Get to the Gromp and interrupt the clear from Junhao.
Yeah, getting nothing off of that invade wasted a lot of milkyway's time, and also when you take into account that he made JiaQi and Niket leash for him, and then he still is behind on the clear because of that failed attempt at the invade.
Now it all makes sense. That was all what it was for. He's looking for this this play here, but remember Jiang also has phase rush, so he is absolutely fine. Is he even going to stop milkyway's base? Okay, did think about it. That's what the that's what the leash was for, Grapes. They were trying to give Milky Way the leeway to make that invade timer happen, and he still couldn't get there in time. That's really unfortunate.
Very unusual. We do see it. Another setup here as a rotation back to the top side is happening here for RNG. We've gotten past that point in the game where all those debuffs end up occurring for the lane swaps, and so looks like JiaQi got there first as RNG want to make sure that they set their lanes up in the best possible position.
Yeah, trying to make sure that they can have a good setup for Grubs. Ultra Prime will match this also. And I feel like they should be able to hold prio. I mean, it kind of depends on what they want, right? If they want to try and zone off JiaQi as this wave pushes back in, but Wako slides to oil the wave a little bit more, so it seems like they want to keep that prio up, and Junhao's just going to full clear towards the top side. He's got a clear line, and on the opposite end, Milky Way, he's walking towards the dragon, so he's already very happy to yield these Grubs, trade out on the objectives. He's a bit indecisive, actually. He's spun back around.
Did he just go down to clear up vision and now is going to run up here? Milky Way's been not super efficient in terms of his clears so far. You can see that in terms of just the XP. Level 5 to level 4.
Not only that, you have to remember, he lost out on both Skull Crabs just because of the invade timer. But because of the invade timer, his topside camps are respawning with a slight delay in comparison to Junhao, right? So this is all kind of a cascading effect of the first clear. It's why you see so many junglers typically in pro play especially kind of just full clear, even if it seems a bit odd. You get these weird kind of delayed effects like this. Junhao is so close to level 6 that if he picks up the first grub, he might even just about get it. Very close.
Okay, he's smited a little late. Okay, he picks up at least one. He's going to get collapsed upon, though, by Xiaoxu. The hero's entrance comes in, so Milky Way has to jump over the wall with that leap strike, securing 2 grubs here for Ultra Prime. They get the slight win, even though they do burn a couple of those summoner spells.
Yeah, a couple of summoner spells blown, but we get 2 out of 3 of the grubs, plus Milky Way's flash, who, that was an early smite, brother. That could have been
very
all 3
early.
grubs. A little bit
yeah. That's a lot of pain, actually, with the exhaust coming down, too. Jong will have the equalizer available if he needs to try to clear something out. As we do see
he's already here.
Tangyuan running down here. Already used a Proc and Spirit Rush to go over the wall. Flash with the charm. Not enough, though, as it's first blood for Tangyuan and RNG. However, Junhao on the way. Tangyuan spot on a ward. There comes the wind, becomes lightning. I think Tangyuan knows he's dead there, as Junhao will make it a 1-for-1.
Yeah, at the very least, picks up the trade kill. So even RNG finding a little bit of reprieve on the other side of the map gets traded out by Junhao, having already made the reset happen. He's even holding the wave for Jung to try and recover what would have been lost CS otherwise. Now he gets just to clear from bot to top again, if he wants. Or if he doesn't care about the dragon, he can just keep this lead going, keep the snowball up. That little bit of gold in his back pocket is going to go the distance, considering how efficient he's been on this clear so far.
It's very odd so far, Jamada.
A lot of strange decisions.
Yeah, the jungle decisions have been weird. Tangyuan is somehow like 25 CS over Saber. I haven't really been paying attention what this Galio has been doing, but farming has not been one of those things. And now Tangyuan has about an 800 gold lead. But somehow, we're still basically tied in terms of gold, in terms of like where the objectives are at right now. That first dragon now just being started up potentially by Milky Way, but it's going to get peeled off of it a little bit because there's a lot of reinforcements from Ultra Prime around the mid lane.
Yeah, Ultra Prime playing the Simons here at the bottom. You see Wako even just he temporarily clicked down to the dragon. They're going to take this 4 versus 4 because they know that Xiaoxu shouldn't have TP, and they're going to force RNG off. So Wako is still going to be able to collect this wave top side. He's able to get prio, because mind you, Xiaoxu does actually have needlework in 10 seconds. I mean, Wako will need to be a little bit careful. He's got enough movement speed, and without the exhaust, I feel like Xiaoxu can't really make an all-in happen. The double tap
That's so unfortunate.
Double up makes that, unfortunately, push plate null and void. It seems like Xiaoxu's just going to go and join him up in the top lane. So no harm, no foul, no dragon taken. Ultra Prime really happy with this sequence of play.
Yeah, especially considering they could definitely have been in danger of losing that Drake. And now Junhao going for an aggressive invade on the red buff, just like Milky Way did around his blue first time around. Jumps away from the wind, becomes lightning, but Milky Way already at half HP. It'll be very hard for him to go back in onto this without any reinforcements. Speaking of, Tangyuan is here. He has the ultimate and the flash available, but Xiaoxu here to match things up with him. It's like right now the red buff not the focus since it has briefly reset. And it will be Junhao to be able to secure that one, but they sent a lot of members around to the enemy jungle to make sure that happened.
Yeah, and Galio, I think, seals the deal for Ultra Prime. And despite being 20 CS down, I feel like Saber's just existed, and his existence in general has really prevented RNG from making a lot of proactive plays, right? You think back to the Grubs, his ult was very, very high value there, and pushing out milkyway. The potential of Galio ult there completely shuts down any real answer from RNG on the red invade, and you could even argue the Dragon. I'm not sure if it was back up at that point, but the contest there. We'll credit Saber anyway. We'll just say that Saber's on the AB.
He just got a menacing aura on this Galio.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the threat of pressing the R button. He's only pressed it once and it didn't knock anybody out, but just knowing that it could happen. Maybe that hero's entrance could be called.
Sometimes that's enough in League of Legends. You know, just the threat of knowing something could happen.
Yeah, sometimes threat of something happen more worrisome than actually having that thing be used. So
exactly.
That's the strategy for Saber.
If my solo queue leaders, you know, had that same that same motto, just replaying in their head. As we are finally going to get that Dragon versus Grubs trade that we were talking about 4 minutes ago. Junhao will get all 3 Grubs here. And we'll get the Cloud Dragon on the opposite side. So 5 Grubs in total. Feels pretty good if you're Ultra Prime, to be honest with you. Just because RNG have pretty good side lanes, to say the least, in Ahri and Gwen. Denying away those Grubs and only being down 1 Dragon at this time, it feels pretty good. Now Milky Way is fine. Buffer's out, actually.
Really nice buffer. Meanwhile, Xiaoxu already proccing that needlework. The equalizer going to come out, but looks like Zhang is exhausted, which means that ultimate does not do any sort of damage. So Xiaoxu, once again getting on the board, taking down Zhang for the 2nd time this game.
Yeah, I hope observers end up giving us a replay of how that happened, because he threw his flash before we even panned up there. Did it very recently at that too. Milky Way is finally going to get the chickens. Hey, look at that. Smited away this time. And Xiaoxu's on the board. Thank God. Right, so what does he flash? Because it
must have been a
distance. Okay, and then we panned here, so that's why that happened. Strange decision. I feel like you have to just kind of tank it, try and flash the Alistar combo. Or maybe he thinks he's going to get in range of me anyway. Maybe I can try and extend the distance. Always a difficult decision, but unfortunately, that one is not one that gets him out of that play. Xiaoxu's able to pick up the kill. Junhao now. Just put a little bit of pressure on Xiaoxu. Be a bit careful. Gwen is on Riftmaker, and the rest of RNG are on their way.
Yeah, they're here. Niket gonna land that pulve onto Junhao. Teleport comes in as well as Tangyuan looks to join the fight. Spirit rushes over the minion wave and lands a really nice charm onto Junhao. The bullet time doesn't do enough as RNG are gonna pick themselves up the feat of warfare with a huge collapse on the top side.
Yeah, one excellent play from Tangyuan. Teleport's good. Then he also just finds a really nice angle for the charm. Completely predicts Junhao. They will be traded out with a plate here, but again, great collapse and punish when it seemed like Ultra Prime were trying to make a play for a big chunk of that tower. Lanes on the opposite side have been answered though, so RNG after making that play are going to have to go back and collect some relatively big waves, but still good to see RNG on the prowl looking for plays.
Yeah, we were saying that Ultra Prime are going to have to be the team to get started in the early game and play around those 1 or 2 item spikes. So we're there right now. You see Leandry's on the Rumble, Bloodthirster on the MF. Even that Rod of Age is starting to stack here for Saber. But so far, it's been RNG more proactive in this mid game, and that means that they're up about 1,000 gold, and they have these high-scaling champions up on their top side that can definitely take advantage of that.
Yeah, and on the opposite end, Ultra Prime, they've hit a lot of their 1-item spikes, right? I mean, basically everyone has, so this is where you'd really like to see them start to contest just about everything. Herald and Dragon both spawned in 2 minutes time. 3 seconds of difference between the 2 objectives. So we'll see where they put their eggs. I feel like considering RNG got that first Dragon, there's maybe a little bit of pressure for them to try and secure the second, just to extend the possibility of an early soul. But also, if you're RNG, you want to snowball the game. Sorry, Ultra Prime, you want to snowball the game. So Herald usually does that a little bit better. Now Saber, he is Galio, but he's run of ages Galio without aftershock. So he's going to have to give that. And RNG should get this tower on the bottom side. You can see in the mid lane, however, there is a bit of a congregation from Ultra Prime trying to chunk out this mid tier 1 as an answer. Let's see how much clearing JiaQi and Niket can do.
Oh, yeah, Xiaoxu trying to catch out Junhao on that top side of the mid lane. Big chunk of damage here onto Junhao as they were not able to get that full trade of the towers. And now RNG, they're in a pretty good spot for themselves. They are going to lose out on some damage on this top side turret as Zhang's able to hit on it for a little bit, but that's a full feat of strength now given over to RNG as they were able to pick up the first tower of the game.
Yeah, really good stuff. Really, really good stuff from RNG. Gets himself the feat of warfare too. Though, I feel feats just don't matter.
Nope. It's a nice way to try to figure out who's winning the game when you look at the top of your screen, I think, a little bit. But the 5% of the boots.
Even then, it's like, you know, I wonder if Balance team can adjust them in any way, like at all, relatively soon. But I feel like they kind of sit in this weird limbo where they're not really strong enough to have like a massive amount of impact, but the impact that they can have is definitely meaningful. But also, League of Legends is a game about completing IOs, right? So gold taking away from that goal of completing your core items also feels kind of counterproductive to slow. So again, it's just a really, really weird mishmash of issues, I suppose, for those boots. Anyway, enough philosophical talk around feet. Dragon's up, and Junhao is on top of that, and it doesn't seem like RNG are at all interested in contesting this one.
Interesting that they didn't want to fight, but again, the one-handed power spikes already picked up for Ultra Prime, as you said, so I think RNG are aware that this is the spike that their opponents would like to fight over, so they're happy to give away that dragon, especially because they took the first one for themselves. Now maybe that Rift Herald could be the focus here for Ultra Prime. They did not use any of those key ultimates and should have first move towards the objective.
Yeah, someone should. I feel like we're going to equalize out here, and mid-wave is going to be what's battled over again. Let's see who can get prior. I mean, again, Galio existing on the top side of the map is going to be a very, very big deal. And if RNG's last-second accidental sidestep from Xiaoxu there, I mean, Milky Way is farming wrong. So that's all you need to know about whether or not RNG are contesting this herald. If they walk up to it, fantastic, but not everyone's here.
They're maybe hunting a little bit though. Xiaoxu looking for potentially a flank here as Xiaoxu already getting very low, has to use the Magnet Storm early on, and now Milky Way's arrived, not in time to get the objective, but in time to pick up a kill as JiaQi gets the first one for RNG. Niket very, very low, as looks like Saber is going to be able to shut him down, making it a 1-for-1. Charm does connect onto Junhao as soon as that Crescent Guard expires, and forces his out to flash away, but Zhang still doing a lot of damage here with that Flame Spitter. Is going to force RNG to back off. It's just a 1-for-1, but Ultra Prime do secure themselves the Herald.
For now, secured. See where they decide to use it. That mid-tier 1 is about 200-300 HP away from being one-shot from the Herald, so I suspect that will probably end up being the target relatively soon. In sync for the next dragon if they want to contest it, but take a look at the replay. It's Xiaoxu getting very chunked out at the beginning of this fight. He does force JiaQi's flash, but the Galio ultimate's only connecting onto Niket, so Xiaoxu ends up getting bursted out. But keep your eyes on both Xiaoxu then Junhao. Junhao ends up kind of in the mixer here for very little reason, and ends up just getting completely obliterated after getting connected on by that charm as Ultra Prime on the back of that plate, despite kind of a negative-ish outcomes, even by the end of it, I suppose. We'll pick up that tower in the top side of the map, so a little bit more gold going into the Rumble's back pocket. It feels too bad. The next objective is 2 minutes time. And then Khan as well spawns on the bottom side of the map. Could be a little bit of double jeopardy if a team fight is really lopsided between these two teams at that next objective.
Pick up both. If things go really well in the next couple of minutes, of course, want to time it the right way. we'll say this is not the super high kill, high action Group Nirvana games that we were hoping for here, Jamada. This is more like the LNG EG game that we are potentially dreading. So early on in terms of the action, I think so far each team has made their own smart macro decisions and stuff, but
yeah, look. Most of the kills happen after 20 minutes anyway. So
fair enough.
You know, we're at 20 minutes in 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Atacon's up. And I heard he's feeling voracious, actually. As a matter of fact.
Pretty not super surprising given the scoreboard right now.
No, definitely not. But also I think, you know, satiating for a little bit of a fight, perhaps, you know. Some kills to occur. Just don't worry, all right? They will fight.
We'll get there eventually, yeah. Early game's maneuvered slow. Felt like maybe Ultra Prime would want to fight a little bit more, but they have not necessarily forced the initiative too much just yet. Maybe now will be the time, as that dragon is coming up in 40 seconds as well. As you mentioned, both of those objectives spawning are on the bottom side of the map will create a ton of pressure and a ton of reason for both teams to go down there and potentially scrap it out.
30 seconds. Setup looks pretty good for Ultra Prime as they begun to kind of suffocate RNG out this side of the map. RNG still do have a total gold lead, and he is holding a little bit of credence when you take a look at the inventory. The second item has been completed with Tangyuan. He has held a pretty consistent CS lead over Saber this game. See how much of a difference it makes. He has opted towards the Roa Leandri's, you know, slightly more tanky build, which in this game I don't hate. Versus so many melees.
Yeah.
I'd say it's alright. It's a pretty solid place to pick it up. It does feel flavor of the month. As I'm not going to talk about the setup because RNG have played it back, and you can see that on your screen. You don't need verbal confirmation of that. We'll see how Tangyuan is able to navigate the next fight. I think being able to survive some of the immediate burst is also pretty good, as you know, part of the reason. That chunk could have been more than half of his health without his current build, right?
True.
And then
He's gonna go back anyway.
Go back to base. He's still gonna go back to base regardless.
And milkyway is too. And so it seems like RNG really don't want to fight right now, because this could have definitely been the angle to do so. You have a teleport and the exhaust on your Gwen, but it looks like instead a reset is in order for RNG. They're going to try to use this timer to allow Xiaoxu to pick up this top lane tier 1 turret. Saber not going to be able to do much to stop it, so just getting more gold into the carries for RNG seems to be the prio, instead of trying to fight around the dragon, which could have ended up disastrous if it ended up going against them, allowing for Ultra Prime to maybe even get the Otacon.
Yeah, I suppose so. Just taking the lower variance play for the time being. Like we've kind of alluded to, they certainly are on the happier side of the Rift to kind of sit back and scale when you've got the Gwen and the Jax into such a short-range composition. I think is the important part to highlight. Don't really have to do too much. We haven't been able, however, to necessarily really knock on the doors of these tier 2s, though we are only 23 minutes into the game, so we'll give it a little bit more time. But I feel like a little bit of pressure on the side lanes will maybe go a long way, even against the Galio. Or even more so, I suppose, against the Galio. Just because his ability to collapse off of the side lanes is so potent.
And so back to clearing waves out, wave management. Just not much to fight over right now, unless maybe the mid lane is enough. As I say that, Charm potentially goes wide here for Tangyuan. The bullet time does take Niket down to half HP, and now Ultra Prime in a very good position HP-wise, but Tangyuan still looking to hunt out some members of UP here. Another Charm is forcing out the crash down for Xiaoxu, and so that's all it's going to be.
Kills are coming. Just, you know.
I'm waiting.
Yeah. Patience. Patience is a virtue. My older brother always used to say. Oh. Wild Junhao on his blue buff. Oh.
Okay, wait, what happened to Jung? What happened to your health bar? 4 shot, it goes wide. Wako tanks it up. He's going to be happy enough with that Bloodthirster. But with the Rumble, low HP, RNG actually going to start this up right now.
This feels suspect. This feels very suspect, Grapes.
They're sending in a teleport. It's going to be Xiaoxu joining the fray. The Otacon dies very slowly, and milkyway's only had about 1,000 HP. He will get bursted down pretty easily if Ultra Prime find him as a target. So instead they're going to peel off, and that means, though, that Junhao can make his way right back onto it with the Audacious Charge. Milky Way's still very low, so might be a one-way trip if he decides to go in for a steal or a flip of this objective. The Otacon's still getting burned down, but now it's Ultra Prime who control it. Niket dashes in, lands a two-man pull. Here comes Milky Way. Will he find the steal? No, it's secured here by Wako, and that means that Ultra Prime will have the false lives, but can they get away with any more blood being shed? JiaQi gets a bunch of these resets, but all Ultra Prime will do is head back to base after just a couple of seconds, and Junhao is going to try to take one with him. He dashes it out, JiaQi won't be able to find it. And overall, 2 members of RNG go down, with the Otacon going Ultra Prime's way.
I'm confused, Grape.
Me too.
I am confused. Well, that might be one of the shortest Otacon buffs I think I've seen.
Might be a record, actually.
Yeah, that might be a record. Picture in picture, bottom right-hand side of your screen. This is how Jiang ended up in the position he ended up in before that fight happened, which I'm guessing we're gonna get a replay of. If I know LPL observers well enough,
we'll get one for sure.
If they feel like nothing's gonna happen, yeah, okay. So
how much has happened this game?
Milky Way got chunked, so he's in a bit of an awkward position, but he can hop over the wall. He does to try and get in position. Doesn't quite find the smite. 138 damage short. He gets burnt down, but then I think this is a lot of damage just out of Tangyuan mostly. Really rips Ultra Prime apart. So well played him. There might have been a bouncing grenade in there from JiaQi too. And despite a very valiant effort, Junhao isn't able to even strip away JiaQi's flash, let alone his life. Does get the barrier, but a very short cooldown. So really a big deal at this stage of the game. Dragon's up in 40 seconds. Tangyuan has that counter strike. Just on the way. A very odd game. Tangyuan.
All right, this is the challenge. There's 5 members. He's going to try to channel the TP. Nope, gets canceled as Saber does hit him with the charm. And now it's just the waiting game to see how long can Tangyuan keep his life. Where did everyone go? Okay, looks like nobody wanted to kill him, so they all backed away.
The Baron's up, so I guess they didn't want to overcommit to, you know, to the bot side of the map. Does make sense. Xiaoxu also, he's getting this tower no matter what. So,
right, but now we get neither of it. We don't get Tangyuan. We also lose the tower. Now Xiaoxu could get collapsed upon by Xiaoxu, but the rest of RNG are potentially here. It's actually Xiaoxu going forward onto Saber. Might not have been the smartest play, as here come the reinforcements Ultra Prime. The needlework helping Xiaoxu heal up so much, but finally, Wako will finish it up with that crit. So that finally leads the kill going towards Ultra Prime.
The decisions being made in this game are particularly perplexing. On all fronts. On all fronts. I can't do anything but be a little bit amused at this point. Xiaoxu reminding everyone that Gwen is immune, and when she is immune, she is hitting things. She will heal with that Rift makeup. A lot of damage coming out. And this is what I was talking about with the side lane presence and threat, right? Ultra Prime do need to be a little bit weary of that Gwen pick. As that third dragon will go over to Ultra Prime, so they're one away from Soul now. But unfortunately, we are in a 10-kill game, 30 minutes in. Prime versus RNG.
Man, now I feel like we've lied to the viewers, Jamada. Remember in the
know,
pre-show, we were like, this is going to be awesome. These guys are chaotic, they don't care.
Okay. Look, viewers at home, hear me out. In 3 of their best of ones, one was really sleeper, and then the other 2 were really boring. Tangyuan should be fine.
Oh wow, looks like they really want to commit for this play. The bullet time really doesn't find anything, and Xiaoxu in a really bad spot. So is Xiaoxu though, as he gets taunted up and taken down by Wako. A max range charm does hit Junhao. Niket flashing forward to try to stun up the Xin Zhao. Finally, popping that crescent guard. This is the fight that we were looking for, Jamada. The 4th shot, barely unable to take Junhao down. And so far, it is just that 2-for-1 on the map, and it belongs to Ultra Prime.
Yeah, that it does. I don't think they're really going to be able to get anything though. They're going for the resets. Not really feeling a potential Baron start, but Milky Way still up and available. And again, back to the common theme of this game. Strange engages. Strange engages everywhere. Though, that said, Tangyuan was definitely in a very compromised position. The crash down over the wall, though, just feels very, very aggressive. And with no gravity well, even no ult available, it just screams very, very strange. Xiaoxu forgot that Galio does what Galio just did to them. Niket gets a really good Q knock up there. Junhao is definitely in a very, again, difficult situation to get out of, but with the Crescent Guard, there's no way of JiaQi actually damaging him from range, so he's able to walk out. And now we come back out into a game, which is only 1k gold apart. Niket. I think he can get collapsed on in earnest.
Another pretty hyper-aggressive engage there from Niket, but he's able to walk out well enough. Take a look around the map right now. 30 minutes into this game. This is now the point where RNG, I think, can start to fight in a 5v5 setting a little bit more, Jamada. We have 3 now items on Xiaoxu. He's able to pick up the Zonias after falling on that last engage. And they're going to have to start fighting soon, obviously, as it is sole point for Ultra Prime. It looks like instead, RNG going to start up this Baron, and they picked a good time to do it because Junhao just went back to base.
Yeah, Ultra Prime might be a little bit slow. They can certainly look for a fight off the fact this Baron is going down a little bit slower than they probably like, though.
Yeah, no jungler, though. Looks like instead they're going to try to peel for the fight. Magnastorm hits 3. Equalizer doing a ton. Junhao knocks away everybody with the Crescent Guard except for Niket, who now they're going to try to focus down. Needlework comes out. The bullet time will finish off the cow, and the Baron was never fully reset, so that means that Ultra Prime can go right back to it. It's at 7,000 HP. Milky Way has the flash, has the smite. Curtain call coming out. Remember, there's no ultimate on Junhao, but he does have the Guardian Angel. Tangyuan lands into the charm. 4th shot not connecting onto the rel. And so now UP forced to retreat with only 1 kill going over once again.
It's a very tense exchange at the Baron. A charm, it's gonna connect.
Max range charm. It's on to Saber, who is rather
Galio.
tanky. And so that means that we got all excited for nothing, Jamada.
Are they gonna go back to it? No, they will walk past it. Junhao.
Stunned up. Flourish connects. There comes the hero's entrance to just try and peel away, and that's all it will do. And the sides will retreat and give each other a firm handshake as they walk on out.
It's warming up. Game's getting more heated. You feel it? I feel it.
Starting. We haven't started bubbling yet in the pot, but
we're
up a little bit.
We're at that point in the pot where you can see the bubbles on the bottom of the pot. You know, it's not quite boiling, but you can see the bubbles forming. You can tell it wants to start.
Yeah.
It's another Baron attempt. Everyone's in the area. There's a lot of elements that have come back up.
Start boiling over soon. This game 1 between Ultra Prime and RNG already back to the Baron. Milky Way low once again, which could be a pretty bad spot here for RNG. Xiaoxu is on a nice flank, though. Does have the ultimate available, but will get spotted out by Zhang. And is forced back away. Now Ultra Prime have the move. They can start this objective up with the HP advantage on their jungler. Milky Way forced to just clear out this Grop, get a little bit of extra HP back. And now it's going to get spotted out potentially by Xiaoxu, who is now in a bad position. Gets stunned up by the Counter-Strike. Oh no! Some anti-synergy as Niket headbutts him away. Now RNG are separated and Niket will once again fall. Ultra Prime with another 1 for 0, at least just for now. Curtain call going to get opened up. Milky Way dashing forward, but he just doesn't do enough damage. Xiaoxu will live. The 4th shot goes wide, and Ultra Prime in prime position here in game 1. The bullet time doesn't find anything, as now JiaQi has the chance to pop off. Tangyuan flashes over the wall. They find 2 kills for RNG. The health bars are so low as Junhao will revive from the Guardian Angel, as him and Saber will be forced to retreat after an extended 3 for 3 team fight.
So many low health bars, but then the few health bars that are left are those of the frontliners, and JiaQi is just not getting through them in a quick amount of time. It ends up being a 3 for 3 in the end of it. And what a hilarious way to start off that fight, as the Baron still hasn't died.
And the Dragon's up now too. And this is going to be sold for Ultra Prime if they pick it up. I mean, Milky Way's dead for 5 seconds. They did send Junhao back to base. But RNG are here
Saber's
first.
here. Saber has ult. Junhao's on his way. How quickly can they get through this? That's the question. And can Saber get any can anyone get any vision in? Because if Junhao sees this happening, he will win. He's going to turn around. He doesn't want to risk his life.
Yeah.
Given that
he would have had smite advantage, but would not have had a numbers advantage. He would have likely died. That could have meant the Baron going over. So instead, looks like Ultra Prime going to try to rush this one down.
Yeah, Jin 4th shot, I think, secured that one a little bit more than Smite would have been able to. The Baron's up, and like you said, it's been started. RNG, pings are there, but like, Tangyuan, he's got to
Very
teleport
late.
over. Yeah.
They're
he's
going to
got a
spot
good
at Milky
flank
Way
angle
now. I
though.
think if your Ultra Prime just bursts this down to 2,000. Can Milky Way, he jumps over the wall. Going to be a flip, but it's secured by Junhao. But here comes the fight in earnest. Charm lands onto just the rumble here.
Oh!
There's a 4-man pull from Niket. Will it be enough? There's not enough follow-up just yet. Tangyuan's forced to go golden, but here comes Xiaoxu with the needlework already bursting down Ultra Prime. Saber forced to go golden. RNG going to win the team fight, but the Baron goes over to UP.
Niket just solo won that team fight for RNG with the 4-man pulverize. Ultra Prime had no answer to that, and Xiaoxu chunked out and deleted before that as well. And almost every purple cape wiped off of Ultra Prime. It's just Junhao who's able to escape with his life. They're going to lose this tier 1 as well, so Baron power play completely swung 1.5k in the negative. So it's technically a 3k cold swing as, hello, Junhao.
Ooh, he flashes over the pulverize, trying to get down JiaQi. That's an 800 goal shutdown over to Junhao. Now going for Niket.
Hold
looking
up.
for a second kill. He's going 1v3 at this point. He dashes forward and picks it up. Junhao on the Jinzhao. How do you do that one?
Okay, Junhao, I see you, bro. Holy. That was mechanically clean as hell. I don't think he could have played that any better if he tried. Observers will give us a replay of that if they find the time, but let's look at this flip. Smite comes down at 1.1k. It was anyone's game at that point. Tangyuan has a really great angle, fantastic flash from Wako, but then it's just this 4-man combo that completely decimates Ultra Prime. There's no ability for Wako to reposition without the flash. He just blew for a potential return bullet time. And with that, RNG just cut through the health bars of a stacked up Ultra Prime. And
there we go.
Look at this. W over the wind becomes lightning. Flash over the Alistar combo. Great spacing backwards to bait Niket in to do that as well. It provides that space. E Audacious Charge away from the Counter-Strike to then take down Niket too. Crescent Guard after the E to knock away Milky Way as well. It's just fantastic.
It's like one of those
fantastic
TikToks
stuff.
where everything just goes exactly as to plan.
Yes.
And that's what we saw from Junhao there on that play. It was pretty ridiculous. Honestly, pretty game-defining so far, as Ultra Prime now with that Baron can still try to go for a push onto the tier 2. Niket has the Unbreakable Will, so will take up a lot of damage. His Equalizer already has been thrown out here by Zhang, and that means that RNG can go for the re-engage. Xiaoxu already using that first proc of needlework, looking for another one as Xiaoxu gets bursted down. Niket with another huge knock-up, but he will get taken down in response. Wako is low. He will die as Milky Way grabs the kill, and RNG now with the numbers advantage and looking to chase down Ultra Prime. The fourth shot will take down Zhang, and it'll be an absolute wipe for Royal. Never give up. Saber will fall. It is Xiaoxu who picks up the kill, and that is an ace for RNG.
I think that's the game. Xiaoxu should be able to almost end by himself. RNG will rotate in. And despite the heroics from Junhao on that last play and the general team fighting being very back and forth, RNG are going to take this first game after what was a small bit of game of catch being played whilst that Baron was up. I don't think that anyone was really feeling like, oh, this game's done. Unless Xiaoxu.
It's 20 seconds on Wako respawning. Milky Way is getting bursted down a little bit. He gets the pop. I think there's a Zanya's at this point. Yeah, there's the ace. There's the Nexus. Aren't you going to take a weird, wacky game number 1 win?
Huh. Okay, RNG Ultra Prime, I see you. And didn't I tell you this was going to warm up, hey?
It warmed up. It warmed up nicely,
You didn't want to believe me.
You know what? I spent all day today before this series watching North American collegiate games, and those guys are a little bit more wild, I think, than what we see here in the LPL. So I was getting a little antsy, but it paid off in the end. That was an entertaining finish as RNG get the win over Ultra Prime.
Yeah. I know it's my job to analyze. That's a weird game to analyze. I don't know, it just felt like for a really long time, RNG, in the most confusing way possible, weren't really interacting with anything going on the map almost ever. There were like small sequences here and there where it's like, hey, Xiaoxu's on a really good side wave, and he picks up the tier 2, but even that felt not teethless, or toothless rather. But again, just strange. Just a really, really strange game to watch. A lot of odd decisions being made throughout. And hey, at the end of the day, RNG still play towards a lot of their win conditions of this game, right? Scaling past the 2-item mark. You kind of saw it in full front, right? It kind of was a little bit too much for Ultra Prime to bear those last couple of team fights, despite being in a very strong position throughout the majority of that game. Couldn't stand up to the scaling of the Gwen and to the Jax.
Yeah, we talked about how these teams, when they played against each other in that placement stage a couple weeks ago, they started scrapping kind of from minute one in most of the games that they ended up playing. But that was not the case here. And I agree with you a little bit here, Jamada, in terms of RNG knowing and understanding how to play to their win condition, which was don't force a fight around those one-item spikes. Like they were willing to give up so much. And we were questioning it a little bit, but it ended up paying off.
The reason, it just, RNG weren't super coordinated about it. It felt, I don't want to take away from RNG because they just won, right?
They just won the game. Yeah.
I feel like the disappointed Asian like father, right? Where it's like, yes, you got good grade, but why did you get good grade like this? You know,
it's not the way that he wanted. Yeah,
exactly, right. Again, play out the map very, very slow. Try not to actually fight Ultra Prime on their spikes. I get that, but it didn't feel like as a 5-man unit that this RNG lineup was like even fully on the same page with that, right? I think at the end of the day, what this game did boil down to was slightly better side wave control, which then kind of bled into some vision plays, right? You think about Tangyuan's teleports throughout this game. The very early one where he was allowed to catch out Junhao, and then the second one where he got pressure onto Wako, forces flash, and then Niket follows up with that 4-man knock-up, which effectively prevented the snowball from Ultra Prime. If they get that Baron, with 5 people, they can probably at the very least siege the base of Baron and really put a spanner in Royal Never Give Up's plans. But alas, the play unfolds as it does, and RNG are able to really make the best of what could have been a bad situation because of, again, heroics from Junhao on the mid wave 2 versus 3. Or 1 versus 3.
It was 1 versus 3, yeah. It was 1 versus 2, then 1 versus 3 eventually. But RNG able to rebound from that as, again, look at the goal graph right now. This is, we didn't even get, no team ended with a lead higher than 3,300, I guess, is what we ended up at as being the maximum there. So we were very even throughout, and there was never really that game-breaking team fight. And until the very end, and it was from the team that had the Baron, they lost the fight and then ended up losing the game.
Yeah, even the gold lead that RNG had that actually is the biggest spike is kind of fake because it was like,
yeah,
the
get all the towers
difference that they had. Yeah, they get all the towers. So they were only really about 1,500 gold up, right? And even Ultra Prime's peak of what was that, 2,600? It never felt like a 2,600 gold lead at any point. It was always RNG being item parity with the other side. But again, the writing was kind of on the wall, right? Kind of from this fight, to be fair, getting wiped. But again, the focus was so much on Atacon, you can kind of forgive Ultra Prime for losing the buff in this manner. But everything else that transpired afterwards, again, a little befuddled on how you'd really break down a game like this. So I can only say good luck to the coaching staff. I'm sure,
that's not our job. We're just here to watch.
Not quite our job. Here to give you some breakdown, but not necessarily how to tell these teams what to do after a game like that. This felt like it could have been heartbreaking, but also, I suppose it did save JiaQi at the end of the day, right? It's just that Niket ends up dying. You wonder how much Ultra Prime are going to end up losing or gaining. But then again, the turnaround starts to come through, and it ends up being, again, a bit unfortunate here for RNG. But once JiaQi gets involved, things turn around.
It's just another weird fight again here. As Tangyuan had a couple of really nice plays on this Ari, but I think the big shout out for like a big difference maker for this Royal Never Give Up team when we got to those team fights was Niket on this Alistar. I mean, we're going to see it right again here. 4-man pulverized. I mean, that was just one of many tremendous engages that he had throughout this game, and that led to those eventual team fight wins.
Yeah, I just hope that we get the same level of performance, away from that for a sec, from this guy in the in the clip package here, Junhao had a really great game. It wasn't just here; it was throughout a lot. Yes, I feel like Tangyuan had his number with the charms. You know, there was plenty of times where it did feel like he was getting clipped by those, but better him than, you know, Wako or Jiang, right? Is the main thing. And then on the opposite end, the AD, like you were kind of highlighting, I hope JiaQi, despite being on the Jin, and I mean, he did deal a lot of damage this game. I think he pumped out about 34,000. Love to see him on a carry in the next one too. True carry. You know, your Kai'Sa, as an example. Something along those lines. This is the final fight that rounded up what was a very confusing game. And RNG, I think, I'm probably gonna look to play scaling again, because if I'm RNG, I'm looking at you know, Ultra Prime on a composition that was predominantly built around really dominating the game. You know, post 14, pre 30, and they weren't clean enough to put the finishing touches on just about any play that they made. So that's the direction I'm going in. Ultra Prime will have the benefit, I'd imagine, of returning back to blue side after this game 1 loss. So gonna help them out there, but nonetheless, RNG winning on red, very big deal for this series.
Yeah, it means that they are